In this second video, we're going to look at how we solve one of the specific problems on the worksheet. So this is a value that's given to you in the chart, but I'm going to show you how we solve for it. So force of gravity equals the gravitational constant times m1 times m2 divided the distance between them squared. All right? This equation we always use. We always want to list out our variables at the start so we know what we're dealing with. So G, as always, is 6.67 times 10 to the negative 11 newtons meter squared per kilograms squared. M1 is 5.98 times 10 to the 24th kilograms. M2 is 25 kilograms. And the distance between them is 6.38 times 10 to the 6th meter. All right. Now, I know it might seem a little intimidating with the scientific notation that we have there. Trust me, it is easy, and once you see how it's done with one of them, they're all almost the same numbers. If you watched the first video, you will know that I said that we can kind of just ignore the units at the end. All right. We end up canceling out everything except for newtons, so just know the answer at the end is the newtons, but we're not going to be looking at those for the rest of the problem. So I'm going to work on plugging these into this equation. So the force of gravity equals our gravitational constant, 6.67 times 10 to the negative 11. Then that is times my first mass, 5.98 times 10 to the 24th. Then my other mass, the easy one, 25. And that is all divided by the distance between them, 6.38 times 10 to the 6th squared. So if we look through this, the first thing I'm going to do is work on squaring this number at the bottom. So I have 6.67 times 10 to the negative 11th times 5.98 times 10 to the 24th times 25 divided by 40.7 times 10 to the 12th. Now, if you're not kind of a pro with scientific notation, I got 10 to the 12th when I take 6 and I take it to the second power. I multiply those two numbers, so 6 times 2 gave me my value for 12 there. Right? Now, at this point in the problem, I want to separate it out into two separate problems. So I'm going to look at just my numbers, and then I'll look at just the scientific notation as a second problem there. So I would have 6.67 times 5.98 times 25 divided by 40.7. This is where I would expect you to use a calculator to solve this. So when I multiply these three on the top, divide by the number on the bottom, I should end up with 24.5. Now my second problem, I want to look at just my scientific notation. So I have 10 to the negative 11 times 10 to the 24th divided by 10 to the 12th. When we deal with exponents, we do things a little bit differently. So when I multiply exponents, I add the two exponent values. When I divide, I subtract. So my problem ends up being just negative 11 plus 24, since they were multiplied, minus 12. Right? And when we solve those out, we end up with 1. Right? Since we had the 10 power, that tells us this tens thing is just 10 to the first power, which is just 10. All right? So I need to add that back into this problem. So I would have 24.5 times 10. Well, there's no reason to have scientific notation if it's anything as simple as that. So I can rewrite this as 245. And then if you remember way back from the top, the unit that we're left with is newtons.